Here we are. I think it's the Sunday the 14th of August, and you can see some sun, and the blue sky is not quite breaking through yet, but this is what we call the Har in northeast Scotland, Aberdeenshire, and basically it's a cold wet sea fog, and it gets a lot thicker than this. Those cliffs are a few hundred metres away, and when the Har's in thick you wouldn't see them at all from here. You probably wouldn't see that orange crane either. So I'm here, Stonehaven Harbour, to do a little test demo comparison of the HIKMICRO Gryphon GH35L spotter against my older Pulsar Quantum Lite XQ30V thermal spotter. So let's just get this going. So I've got HIKMICRO Gryphon with me. It's kind of shaped like a slightly retro, slightly bulky camcorder, but it's got the LRF module on the left side, buttons along the top as you can see, and there's a zoom wheel. The camcorder style carry strap is on the right, battery compartment at the front for a single pinhead 18650 battery, and the other thing I'm carrying is the case for my Pulsar Quantum XQ30V spotter, which doesn't have onboard recording, but I've got it hooked up to a Yukon MPR recorder via a cable made by my friend Hator. Thanks mate. HIKMICRO is on loan for 3 months, very kindly, from HIKMICRO themselves, from a perusal by and review by myself and Bruce, who's Phoenix on the UK Night Vision forum. Hi to everyone there. And several years ago now, I bought the Pulsar XQ30V spotter from Scott Country International. So thanks for everyone there. Okay, before any more of this Har burns off, let's see how the sea fog is affecting the thermal spotters. Okay, I'm recording on the Pulsar, and there's a lady walking her dog, and there may be a few seabirds around. I've got them turned up to 10, which is like halfway, and the image is pretty poor thermal contrast, apart from the heat source of the lady and her dog. A fishing boat. There's the far harbour, that's the crane I saw a minute ago. There's no contrast between the cliffs and the sky, which I can see with the naked eye just. And see the harbour wall there, other harbour wall. Some ships, but pretty poor contrast. And this is on white hot. There's another walker guy pushing a pram. And there's some ducks. That's about 75-80 metres away. Dogs harassing the ducks. They're having none of it. There's a guy in the edge of the water, starting his boat up. And in the distance, difficult to make out, but in the distance, a couple hundred metres away, there's a moving vehicle and there's people preparing boats. Okay, so that's the Quantum Lite, the Pulsar. I'm not going to look upwards towards the sun, because although it's mostly in fog, I don't want to damage the spotter. There's the dog. I got lucky this morning with this chance to do some thermal recording with the fog ongoing. There's some ducks in the harbour. The lady walking her dog. It was very handy to have some examples of humans and animals wandering around, giving me a nice thermal signature to record. This is a zoom test with this Gryphon at 1, 2, 4 and 8 mag. And then back through 4, 2 and back to 1. My apologies for any shakiness. I'm just standing upright, leaning back against a little tourist info sign. There's the guy with the trawler doing some engine testing by the looks of it. And here with the Gryphon, you can see people in the distance through the fog. You can see the boathouse and you can make out benches at the far harbour wall. That's a row of sort of little pleasure cruiser craft. The left hand, that's the North Harbour wall. Slight pause there as the Gryphon calibrated. And there's a fisherman on the far harbour wall. So here I go through I'm on white hot, so I go through the palettes. Black hot, then fusion, which is just rainbow. Red hot, and then onto optical. Now optical, you can see the fog here. And then image fusion, which is a mix of optical and thermal, which is interesting, quirky for sure. And white hot. And then here I realized that I wasn't in LRF mode, so I had to stop recording and put it into LRF mode. Right, recording again, and you can see I've now activated the LRF. So there I'm ranging the lady with a dog at 40 meters, but there's no signature coming back from the ducks, because obviously the angle of the water's preventing a good feedback. I was surprised I wasn't getting a feedback from this harbour wall with a laser rangefinder. That's about 100 odd meters. And obviously the laser rangefinder infrared, it's obviously suffering with the fog. So it's not giving me a result from any of these items that I'm looking at. Scanning across, yeah, the guy with the trawler, he's got his engine on, so the rear of the trawler is warming up, and you can see the exhaust pipe's quite hot there. Go through the pallets from white hot to black hot, ranging her and the dog at 40 meters. There's a slight fault there, the 10 meter range, so the laser rangefinder is still struggling in the fog. Onto the fusion palette, which is more of a psychedelic color scheme really, though the thermal reflection off the wet sand is quite cool. Red hot, which I don't see much use for myself. Optical, and it's getting a bit brighter now, so the optical is starting to see a fairly photorealistic image. Image fusion, which is a mix of, again, of thermal and optical. And back to white hot mode. Now the laser rangefinder got me a return there of 60 meters to that boat. So it's struggling. The laser rangefinder is clearly attempting to get through the fog. So zooming 1 times, 2 times, 4 times, or 8 times. Again, it's handheld, so my apologies for the shakiness. And back out to 4 times with the scroll wheel, and then 2 times, and back to 1 times. Now I got a return from the mid-harbour wall, 109 meters, and now I get a return at 220 meters, 222, to the fisherman on the far harbour wall. So just as I was recording, the fog was literally lifting second by second, and I started getting a return, so 104, 40. I'm getting returns from all these objects now suddenly. So it does show that the infrared laser rangefinder on the Gryphon GH35L is a little bit sensitive to the fog in the air, but you can see the image is very crisp, and there's a lot of detail here, and it's 720 by 576, I think, the resolution, and very clear. Okay, recording again on the Pulsar. The fog has very quickly started to clear. Wait till this car gets past. There's the lady I was just recording with her dog, and there's the distant fisherman, which I now know is 221 meters away. There's containers on the mid-harbour wall, 109 meters, I know that from the Gryphon. That's just on 8 AM. Right, I can now see, with the fog having burned off a fair bit, I'll just record something on my phone in a second, but I can now make out the differentiation between the harbour wall, or the cliffs rather, in the distance, and the skyline. You see the trees, the house overlooking the harbour, gentleman with his boat, and this spot I can now see some more details in the distance, the boathouse for the yacht club, and so on, and a couple of other heat sources, and I think middle of the screen that'll be probably the exhaust from the trawler that's there, from the fishing boat. They're over. We have the Marine Hotel there, and over on the right the ship in. The ship in has a white front with a black painted sign which is already absorbing the solar heat, hence lighting up on the thermal. So there's the dog. So you can see the haar having burned off very quickly. This older, less sensitive spotter is now able to see things, but the Gryphon saw through most of it straight away, which is good to know. And now the sun is getting brighter. There's the fisherman. Oh, and the zoom with the Pulsar. 5 times. 10 times. And back to 2.5 times, which is the base mag on the Pulsar. There go the dog. Base 2.5. Then 5. And then 10 times. Okay, so mobile phone next. And very quickly you can see that the haar has burned off. You can see the blue skies now come out. Just 10 minutes ago that wasn't visible at all. So the guy over there with his trawler. Some ducks centre screen. And the lady with the dog over here. And I'm not going to point towards the sun, but you get the picture. Okay, so having just filmed that quickly, taking advantage of the temporary early morning haar, which is northeast cold sea fog, as I said. I'm going to try and get this video edited and online today, show you a little bit of what the Gryphon can do. The haar does come in a lot thicker than that sometimes, and if that happens during the period I've got the HIKMICRO Gryphon GH35L on loan, then I'll make sure I get recording to see just how thick the haar has to be, and hopefully the Gryphon will still see through it thanks to its sensitivity. Okay, thanks for watching. Cheers, bye. So with my editing having been so rudely interrupted by that morning sea fog, which I took advantage of, now I'm going to literally get straight back on to editing, finishing editing the HIKMICRO Stellar GQ50 and Senopex Dot S10 thermal scopes. So I'll try and get both online today if I can.